In April of 2014, I was looking at the internet, and I saw some stories about Cliven Bundy and a ranch in Nevada. At first, I was just another story coming across the Facebook. I found it interesting, but that was about it. More stories started to come across, and around April 10th, I saw a video, and in that video, there was a group of people protesting.
In the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
There was a group of people trying to see inside a dump truck. And from the comments I was reading underneath the video, they thought that there was dead cows in this dump truck. And they were trying to see inside it. And one of the protesters, a woman, was standing next to a truck that was moving, and one of these BLM agents grabbed her by her waist and body slammed her into the dirt, into the rocks. And at that point, a man came into the frame with an ATV. I later found out that was her nephew, one of the Bundys. But he got in between these agents and their dogs and these women, one of which was getting up off the ground, and they try to sick a dog on him, and you can see it plainly in the video. He sicks the dog on Ammon, and Ammon tries to keep the dog away from him by throwing his foot up. Whether he connected with the dog or not, I'm not sure. It's hard to tell in the video. At that point, they begin to tase him. They shoot him with a taser probably three or four times. It made me upset. I was very upset. The video continues, and they interview another one of her nephews in the street, and he's darn near in tears, and he's talking about them being the aggressors and growing up on this road and needing help and I just thought to myself, what would I want if that was my family? And I realized that, I was hoping that people show up to protest this heavy-handed nature. In the comments, I also found that they were talking about how there was no dead cows in the truck.
This call is from an inmate facility.
That it was water pipes and water troughs and stuff that this Bundy family had put in over the years, and that they had the water rights, and they had put in pipes and water troughs to water their stock, and the BLM was out there ripping it up, and so to me they were out there ripping up this private property, and there was talk of these court orders to collect the cows, but I didn't understand why they were ripping up the private.
In the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
I didn't understand why they were ripping up the private property. And so I was frustrated, and now I'm paying attention, and I see a video talking about the governor of Nevada and his opinion on the matter, and I also this free speech zone, First Amendment area that they put up. As I'm researching this thing and looking into it, I find that they arrested one of Cliven's other sons for taking pictures on the side of the road, and they beat him up pretty good. I found a video of him speaking in an interview, and you can see his face is bruised up and kind of road rashed up a little bit, and talks about the dogs being sicked on him, and in this article video, there's also a picture of snipers.
In the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
There's also a picture of snipers on the hilltop above him in all black, and it was reported that these snipers were above him with crosshairs on him while he was being arrested. Basically arrested for not being in this free speech zone and First Amendment area, whatever you want to call it. And at that point, I was wondering what was happening in Nevada. In the video of Dave Bundy speaking about his arrest, he talked about how they let him loose the next day without any charges. So this reaffirmed what I was already thinking, which was, how are you going to charge somebody for standing on the side of the road taking pictures? Obviously, apparently, they didn't know how they were going to do that either. So I decided I was going to go down there and protest. As I was getting ready to go, I made it known that I was going down there to protest, and asked if anybody else wanted to come with me. Two of my friends decided they were going to go with me, and we were getting ready to head down there. And somebody sent me a message with a link to a Clark County administrator, Tom Collins. He was being interviewed by the news in Las Vegas area, and he said, anybody coming to support the Bundys better bring funeral money and a body bag. And I was pretty dumbstruck by the comment. I personally wasn't going to be intimidated into not exercising my First Amendment right. I had planned on going there and voicing my opinion on this First Amendment area, and being there with the other protesters that were gathering in Nevada. So at that time, I did look into the Nevada laws and found that it was an open carry state, and decided to arm myself, not knowing what was going on down there and how things were escalating by the day. I chose to be prepared for anything. And so we drove down to Nevada, and we got there, and that next morning, Saturday morning, the sheriff came to speak to the crowd. And the sheriff said a few things. He said that there was a press release that came out, and that they were ceasing their operation, taking their assets from Clark County, and basically that they were ceasing the operation, they were removing their assets from Clark County, and that was about it. While he was talking, somebody in the crowd asked, "What about the cows?"
This call is from an inmate facility.
And his answer was, we have to talk about how that's going to be safely accomplished. It was kind of vague looking back on it, but at the time we all thought that the cows were being released. They were going to open up the Gold Butte allotment that they had closed, and they were going to release the cows, and they were going to stop gathering them, and they were going to leave. That's what we thought. And so an hour went by. Cliven said some crazy stuff while the sheriff was on stage about disarming the NPS, National Park Police, National Park Service. He was referring to a young man who had been shot in Red Rocks Park probably 2 weeks prior. He was an unarmed man who didn't pay his entrance fee and was traveling on the road there. I think he was mentally ill a little bit, but he was unarmed, and they shot and killed him. So, when Cliven said that the NPS should be disarmed by the county, and nobody thought that was really going to happen. The sheriff disappeared for an hour and never came back to talk to Cliven. So we all assumed that the BLM was leaving, like we were told, and that they were giving the cows back. We all headed over to the impoundment site, and we're hanging out on the side of the interstate, and basically waiting to watch the cows come home. And at that time, I was standing on the side of the road, and a woman showed me through a telescope snipers up on a mesa top. What we thought was snipers up on a mesa top. And there's planes flying around. You can see there's somebody armed in this little Cessna as it's flying low and banking. See a man with a rifle in there.
In the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
There's helicopters flying around, and we kind of don't really know what's happening. But we hang out on the side of the road for a little bit, and eventually a woman comes running down the highway and says they're pointing weapons at the protesters in the wash and threatening to shoot them. At the time, I didn't even know there was anybody in the wash. I imagined from what she was saying that she was talking about the sniper up on the mesa. So we went walking down the highway, and as we walked, we ended up on a bridge. And that bridge overlooks the wash, and I look down, and there's a group of people in the wash below the northbound. And I look down the wash, and I see a gate and a group of men in combat gear and olive drab jumpsuits, and these guys had body armor and helmets and masks, and I wasn't sure who they were. At this point, somebody handed me a pair of binoculars, and I looked down there, and behind those guys I could see even more people, some in full camouflage with combat gear, body armor and helmets, and rifles, and then another group in plain clothes with body armor and rifles, and a lot of them were pointing their rifles down the wash at the protesters and at us on the bridge. Was confused. Everybody was pretty confused. We had thought the sheriff said that the BLM was leaving, so we weren't really sure who this group was. And more and more
This call is from an inmate facility.
More and more protesters ended up in the wash and started to approach the gate. They got about halfway there and stopped. And they were holding their signs and waving their flags, and these people continued to point guns at the protesters, and the protesters move up a little bit further and up a little bit further, and At the time, I didn't really know what was happening down there. I was too far away. I was about 200 yards. I hear them over the intercom say, we've been authorized to use lethal force. And at that time, I felt like the snipers had probably been green-lighted too. And
in the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
This group proceeded to move up to the gate with their hands up, and as they were moving up to the gate, I felt like they were going to be shot. I took cover on the bridge and waited and watched. At some point, all these men with their guns backed up, and one of the people in the crowd went over the gate with law enforcement that was there. Metro had come down into the wash, and I assumed that Metro made these guys with the guns back up and leave, and I felt safe enough to get up, and that's when I stood up, and we waited, and eventually the gate was removed while Metro Sheriff Department was right there, and Metro Sheriff Department escorted the cowboys up out of sight. Turned out to be where the cows were.
In the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
Turned out to be where the cows were, and they drove the cattle back out under the bridges and into the out onto the range, and that's basically what happened. I could get a lot more specific and detailed. But
in the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
At the time, that's what I knew, and that's how it happened. I know a lot more about the situation now, being detained and given Discover. I've watched a lot of video. I've watched a lot of pictures. But at the time, that's what I knew, and that was my reaction to the situation as I saw it. So I hope that helps clear up any questions. We've gone through trial once and got a hung jury.
You have 1 minute remaining. In the event a third-party call is detected, your call will be terminated without warning.
We went through trial once, got a hung jury, and got the majority on that jury to say that there was no crime committed, no conspiracy. As of right now, we're waiting for a calendar call, and we have another date set. So apparently they're gonna do it again, and I'm not sure how many times they're gonna take us to trial here, but